So I, nearly adult female, have a half-sister Leah, tween. Leah and I share the same room, but my stepdad is her dad. My dad died a few months before my mom got married. My stepdad for years has tried to take over as the dad in my life. He wanted to adopt me and change my name. He tells people I'm his daughter and that he's my dad. My mom does the same. She was angry with me for a couple of years for ending the adoption dream. They decided that Leah didn't need to know, and so they've always told her we're full sisters, and it just took them a while to have her. Leah has often questioned why I call her dad by his name. It has always been something I've told my mom and stepdad they need to fix because I would tell her the truth someday. They said I wasn't allowed to, and that I could see this as a chance to let my stepdad be just my dad and to stop with the childish nonsense that I'd been keeping up for the last decade. Leah grew more and more questioning about it, so a few weeks ago I told her the truth after telling my mom it would happen. I showed her photos of my dad. I told her I still loved her, but that her dad was not mine. She asked if I disliked her dad. I told her simply he could never replace my dad. She told me she'd feel the same way if hers died and Mom remarried. I told her I was glad she understood. She asked me if it made me sad or mad when people said the wrong thing about him being my dad. I said it did. That I didn't like it much, but I tried not to hold it against people. They were so angry when my mom and stepdad realized I'd told Leah. I was grounded for 3 weeks for going against them and for putting Leah in a bad situation. I argued back at the time that they were the ones who lied. My stepdad said it was not a lie because, despite legally and biologically not being my dad, he was the one who was there. He would be the one walking me down the aisle one day, and he would be a grandpa to my future children. And he's the one who will have been my dad for more than a decade. I told him he'll always be my stepdad of a decade or 2 decades or 3 decades, but the step will always be there. They're still angry and they upset Leah by correcting her and trying to make her call her dad my dad. So I feel bad now that she's got pressure on her to do what doesn't upset me. My mom pointed out that it's all my fault. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Please get out of that house as quickly as you can. Your mom and stepdad are the ones acting childish. The adult thing to do is to admit the truth rather than live a lie. My dad literally visits the grave of my mom's first husband at least once a year and encouraged my older sister to have a relationship with her father's family. Your mom and stepdad are too immature to be proper parents. And it's funny that he just assumes that he'll be there to walk OP down the aisle or be a grandfather. Like they're not doing everything to convince OP to cut them off the second she can. Like, yeah, in a normal, healthy version of this situation, it would be super touching to let stepdad take that spot. But in this situation, I'd laugh in his face. I'd tell her the truth someday. They said I wasn't allowed to. Why do so many parents try and play this stupid game? If more than one other person knows these family secrets, they will eventually come out. It causes more damage than if they'd sat down and explained what happened and that they love each other. In any case, there's no turning back for any of them. Why not tell the truth? It's shocking that the tween half-sister has more empathy, understanding and maturity than the parents. I feel terrible for both kids. They're probably using stepdad's last name on paper without the legal change. You can do this for a lot of things, actually. My high school boyfriend was registered under his stepdad's last name in school, but when it came time for legal things like his diploma, it was under his birth dad's name. Seriously, I want to smoke what the stepdad is smoking. He seems to be way more delusional than my delusions of becoming a billionaire by 30. OP, reassure half-sister that you are sisters and will always love her. Get out of that house ASAP and cut contact with the entitled stepfather. And consider they're trying to force you to be his daughter. They may deny you contact with your sister once you leave, but the problem is someday she will leave also. It's all their fault. All of it. Every bit of it. My sister-in-law, husband's sister, 29, and her husband, 34, rent out our basement currently. They have the entire basement to themselves, with the exception of my laundry area. They pay $450 a month to be here, and 9 times out of 10 they eat their meals with us as well. They chip in very little to food cost, however. They ran into hard times and needed somewhere to go 2 months ago, and we opened our doors to them, despite me being ready to pop. I had my daughter 2 weeks ago. Since they moved in, my sister-in-law will sleep all day, she works overnight shifts, and my brother-in-law will come upstairs to my living room about 5 or 6 a.m. and take over the entire space. He'll put the TV on and then sit there with his laptop playing video games, and he will not leave the living room at all until 8 or 9 p.m. My sister-in-law even brings his food to him in the living room. The only time he gets up is to go to the bathroom or get himself coffee. Now, he's very much a 50s-style southern boy. This man does not lift a finger at all, and he has never so much as boiled water because that's a woman's job. He doesn't pull that crap with me, but he does when it comes to my sister-in-law, who works all day when he is unemployed due to a back injury. Anyway, I breastfeed my daughter and I refuse to be limited in my own space, so I will absolutely go into the living room and nurse my child. I make sure I'm not exposed. Damn near every time I go to nurse, he'll be like, "I don't want to see that crap." Think southern hillbilly accent. Or when my husband gets home, he'll say, "She trying to whip her boobies out of my face again." And I'm honestly so fed up and disgusted with him that I snapped and told him he's not welcome in my living room at all anymore, and he can sit his stupid butt down in the area his wife pays for. Sister-in-law is trying to get me to change my mind because they don't have a TV down there. The plug-in doesn't reach his laptop, and sitting on the bed all day hurts his back. But I refuse. I don't care how much discomfort it causes him. He grosses me out, and his face makes me want to vomit, and he needs to stay away from me completely. My husband is on my side, per usual, but it's causing issues for my sister-in-law because her husband's just an idiot in general. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. They rent the basement space. The living room is your space. He has no business taking up your space and then complaining when you use it as well. Actually, sister-in-law needs to leave this unemployed adult who just sits on his butt the whole freaking day doing nothing, with the excuse of a new ailment every few months. People divorce for no apparent reason, but in such cases they have to, but they don't. I wonder why. I don't think he actually has a back injury. Every year it's something different, like last year it was crow's feet, the year before it was his shoulder. He just finds every excuse possible not to work, and he will ride out an injury for at least 10 months out of the year, work for 2 months, and then claim a new injury. He's just lazy. Crow's feet? Like the wrinkles next to delivery, my wife was having trouble talking and couldn't calm down, and was breaking down essentially. She was just wheezing and reaching for the baby for a few minutes, and the nurse said, "You need to calm down, it's over, it's not about you anymore." After I got my wife to breathe and relax a bit, I approached the nurse and said she should have a heart and understand what my wife was and is going through, and she said, "Oh, okay," in a way that made it clear she didn't care. So I just looked at her and told her to be quiet if that was how she decided she wanted to waste everyone's time. She said, "If you'd let me do my job, I could get you 3 on your way home soon. Is that all right?" I said I was sorry, but I wasn't going to let my wife be treated like that, and if this was a chore for her to deal with, she should rethink being a nurse. I saw her wipe a tear a bit later. I hurt her feelings and I felt bad. Not the idiot. This nurse was exactly like the monsters who gave my mum PTSD by mistreating her during and after her birthing me. There's a notion that you stop being a real person once you become a mum because you've essentially passed your personhood onto your kid. You yourself don't matter at all anymore. It's dangerous misogyny, and I'd never feel safe with a nurse like that. I hope she gets fired. I think the nurse forgot that it's not about her. It absolutely is about both mother and baby. I kicked a nurse out for having an attitude and requested a different one. I just had a baby and I didn't care what was going on in her life at that time to have a crappy attitude, but I wasn't about to deal with it. 24 hours of labour followed by an emergency C-section. Get your attitude out of my room. You did the right thing. You're a great husband for standing up for your wife. Yes, most of us don't want conflicts, especially in stressful situations, but your wife went through serious trauma, and that was a seriously unkind thing to say to her. "It's not about you anymore" is messed up. Your baby needs a healthy mother, not someone who disregards their own health and struggles. Precisely. The nurse's comment makes it seem like she was just a vessel, and now that she's emptied, she doesn't matter anymore. She's still a patient who needs care. No nurse should be speaking to a patient like that. OP should report this incident to her supervisor, if for nothing else to show her that there are consequences should she do this to another patient in the future. My 22 female best friend Jenny, 23 female, just recently had a baby with her husband Tom, 25. My boyfriend and I met their baby boy for the first time last weekend when they came over to our flat for dinner. We have a hot tub on our balcony that my parents gave us for Christmas last year, and I told them to bring swimwear so we could go in after dinner. My boyfriend wasn't up for it, so he held the baby while we 3 got ready to get in the tub. Jenny was the last person to get changed and came out of the bathroom in a bikini. I thought she looked amazing, really happy and glowing, but Tom laughed and said something about her still having some weight to lose before she'd be as attractive as she was before her pregnancy. I was a bit stunned by that comment, and even though Jenny didn't say anything, her smile disappeared and she looked obviously uncomfortable. She and I had talked about her struggle with weight gain during her pregnancy, and I thought Tom's comment was more than insensitive. I got angry because I started wondering why he might be saying to her in private if he was comfortable dropping lines like that in front of other people. So I responded, "She just had a baby, what's your excuse?" The dude has a hefty beer belly and a double chin, but thinks he can joke about a new mom's weight. He got really defensive and told me that I needed to learn how to take a joke before stomping off to the hot tub. Jenny chuckled at my comment, and I thought that was that. But when they left for the night, Tom pulled me aside and told me to keep my nose out of other people's business. I don't think I was entirely in the wrong, but my boyfriend told me I shouldn't have reacted at all because it really wasn't my business. I think Tom's reaction speaks for itself, making me wonder whether I might have been the idiot in that situation. Not the idiot. Insulting your partner in front of other people deserves a calling out. Good for you, OP. Keep fighting the good fight. The only way to stop a bully is to throw whatever they're giving right back in their smug face. We cannot tolerate the intolerable. Also, he can't claim it's a private matter when he said it right in front of you. Why can he joke about his wife's body after she just gave birth to his baby, but no one can respond in kind about his body? Now you know why she struggled with her weight gain during pregnancy, because she had an insecure idiot at home making comments about it. And your boyfriend's reaction is a huge red flag if you ask me. Yeah, the boyfriend's don't rock the boat attitude really rubbed me the wrong way, especially since the woman getting insulted was OP's best friend. Have a serious conversation with your boyfriend about his values, because no one should be comfortable remaining silent in the face of that kind of nasty behavior. My son just graduated high school and we were paying so he could go on a road trip with his friends. He was supposed to go Wednesday, but my wife's mother and father got in a car accident. They live in another state, so we drove about 4 hours. My wife was a wreck and wasn't in a position to drive since her dad was in critical condition. He pulled through, luckily. We have 2 other kids, tween and pre-tween. We can't leave them at home alone, and we couldn't find a sitter to watch them on such short notice. We even tried our neighbour, but he couldn't do it. So that left our 18-year-old. He was angry, to put it mildly, but he did it. I told him we would make it up to him, and if he could ask if his friend could move it back a week. They couldn't, sadly. We were gone for 2 days. He pulled through. My wife stayed and I headed back. I paid him for watching the kids and went to talk to him about getting him on the trip. It was supposed to be 2 weeks and they should be just to stay over. He blew up about ruining his trip and said there was no point going even though it would still be 12 days of the trip. He called me a jerk and locked himself in his room. I need another opinion since this was an emergency and he doesn't seem to care his grandparents almost passed. Honestly, you are the idiot. I don't care why you couldn't take your kids. It's their grandparents who are in critical condition after all. They're at ages where you don't have to keep your eye on them every single second. It shouldn't have been that much of a bother. And what would have happened if he'd already left? It's not your job to police his feelings about his grandparents. People are allowed to feel how they feel about people. Not the idiot, and the people who constantly answer, "He's not your children's parents," are exhausting and out of touch with reality. He wasn't parenting, he was looking after them during an emergency. When something like that happens, you are supposed to help your family. You're not an island. Your interests and needs are not the only ones that count. Opie even offered to take him on the trip so he wouldn't lose all of it, but his son refused. He could still go and spend 12 days with his friends. Instead, he threw a fit and skipped 2 whole weeks of vacation because he had to stay home for 2 days. Son can be upset, but he chooses to be stupid about this. He should have accepted the lift. Right? Only in an alternate universe where 18-year-old spoiled kids' wants trump an entire family's emergency needs. It's horrible. I can't imagine at 18. I wouldn't have missed a trip to help my family out, and to be honest, I wouldn't have felt like going on a fun trip if my grandfather was possibly dying. There's something wrong with this kid. Some of us have good families that we actually care about. Update. Am I the idiot for having my son miss his graduating road trip to watch his sibling? Well, he called his mom. Let's say it didn't end well. He said basically the same thing he said to me, and my wife had a breakdown on the phone with him, and she sent him the injuries and pictures of Grandpa and Grandma. He finally came out of his room and told me he wasn't going to go on the trip and that the plane tickets weren't needed. I talked to my wife and I'd never heard her that mad. On the good news, Grandpa has some feeling back in his legs, which was a huge concern. For people saying we didn't have an emergency plan, we do. First, my closest friend, vacation. Main babysitter, not available. Backup babysitter, not available. Last resort, grandparents, hospital. We tried to find someone, so we even asked our neighbour whom I have a good relationship with. I had a conversation with my son about everything. He and Mom will have a conversation when she calms down. His friends are not a state over, they're about 2 down at this point and going to Mexico. They'll probably get to the border tonight. They were supposed to be going to California. He had his passport and everything ready. This is a mess.